Your LED lightened green screen has been delivered. Sean! Woohoo! Hello one, hello all. It's the most striped ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Willow-Empathogen. This is the latest album from singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, Willow Smith. And while I can't say I've been a fan of her work, I can't deny that this woman definitely has talent. And I really can't deny her versatility throughout her career, starting from her breakout single, Whip My Hair, that she came out with at a very young age, to her very artsy debut. Though I found the vocals interesting, I did find the overall ethos and I did find the overall lyrics to be illusions of grandeur. And then moving to other ventures such as rock, which was a very spotty era for me, I'll admit, especially with her very bland, forgettable album, Lately I've Been Feeling Everything, which was a very poor attempt at doing these alternative rock songs with a bit of punk. It was just very bland and very unflavored, in my opinion. But then we got Coping Mechanism, which honestly I felt was her best up until this point, where the guitar work was great. There wasn't really anything too much to dig into, and it was a scant project, but definitely her best by a mile, even if it wasn't lyrically mind-blowing. But due to how enjoyable I felt that album was, I was really looking forward to this new album, especially with how great the singles were leading up to this, as she's now giving us jazz prog, jazz pop, jazz rock that are showcased greatly on her stellar big single, Big Feelings. And this album right here is definitely dealing with Willow's emotions. Emotions are a huge thing, given the title Empathogen, which I do find is kind of a corny title, I'll admit. But Willow has definitely shown growth here. She is definitely giving us not only growth lyrically, but also growth sonically as well. I feel the sound is larger here. I feel there's more passion this time around. And in terms of the instrumentation, it's mostly a tight performance. And I wouldn't say you're getting anything too wild or crazy here, but I do like the jazzy progression of this album. There are moments where I'm reminded of Fiona Apple, even Christian Hayter at some points. Like on Ancient Girl, where she embarks on these melodic whines and moans. And there are tracks I enjoy on here, but this album is not without its flaws. And I say that in the context of how this album delivers such a narrative of internal battles, internal struggle, yearning for identity, trying to find who you are, but also coming to terms with it's okay to not be okay. And while even the tracks I didn't care about have things I enjoy about them, like their hypnotic strums and definitely showing their chops, I do wish these tracks were longer because it just feels like a lot of these tracks are just edging for the climax. Yep, I said it. And the drums are crisp. The pianos are jazzy, which I feel is executed greatly on the closer, which again, we'll get into. And I feel like a lot of these rely mostly on the fact Willow is doing something different and better than her previous efforts, but that doesn't really make for a compelling, solid song, which happens various times on this album. And I feel derivative at some points too. Like Between I and She just comes off to me as trying to do a Radiohead song while not finishing the Radiohead song off of In Rainbows. Because the problem is, as great as some of these songs could have been, they fade out before they get started. But that's not to say I don't see the development. That's not to say I don't see the evolution. Especially with the writing, which is why I felt myself so disappointed when the highlights rely on the writing, and the writing is really good. Because the stars are aligning compositionally, production-wise. Like on Symptom of Life, I love the throaty melodic staccatos, soaring backing vocals, and the production definitely has a lot of prominence, especially in the bass. The bass has so much presence, and Willow is showcasing the feelings of showing pain, trying to leave behind this toxicity, whether this is a person or whether these are internal battles, which occur very much so as the highlights continue. Pushing and peeling myself out of this disguise. Look at you now, I'm wondering why. And it leads me to believe if Willow is talking about a person that she's leaving behind and then growing as she's left that person behind, or is she talking about herself? There's also Fear Is Not Real. I love the watery, entrancing guitar lines here. Definitely the most dreamiest hypnotic cut on this album. And I love the building motivational strings that are put here as Willow gives herself this sense of there is no battle going on, there is no internal battle, as she's just trying to find inner peace through these tumultuous times, while simultaneously staying strong. And she speaks again on this disguise, and says silence she could only hear in her mind. In this silence, I don't know what I'll find. There's also False Self, which is the funkiest, grooviest cut on this album. I love the fat bass line, and she is continuing this internal battle, while this time questioning her own sanity. And also we have a great drum and piano cut from the legendary Annie Clark, aka St. Vincent, who's an art pop legend, and if you're not familiar with her discography, check her stuff out. Check out Actor, Daddy's Home, Strange Mercy. And on here, I'm loving the chemistry that they have. It's beautiful. While the two express the emotions of shedding tears, of finding someone who shares the same internal disparity as they do. It's like finding a kindred spirit who's also an emotional wreck. It's a beautiful, bittersweet moment, and things do also pick up narratively on Run, as Willow's finding herself looking for an escape from this internal disparity and cutting out this toxicity, whether again this is a person or a part of her that she is trying to get out, or what reads to me as a personification of a toxic person, or the standpoint of these horrendous feelings that are overcoming her. And there's also the closer, as I alluded to earlier, as Willow is yearning to find acceptance in feelings, as Willow is yearning to find acceptance of her feelings and come to the conclusion that there is validity in not feeling okay. It's okay to not be okay, and realizing that she is mentally troubled and she is just facing this head on now. And instrumentally, I love the jazzy, proggy piano lines, again, very Fiona Apple coded. I love the squishy synthesizers and the way her vocals run along the piano lines. But the biggest flaw this album has is how I feel it's packed with filler, and how this could have been cut short and narratively could have been more impactful. Because there are songs on here where they are structured well, where they do have focus, but I feel the bits where the songs are unfinished really throw off what this album was going for narratively, in my opinion. But having said that, I feel this is Willow's best album yet, and I feel if she's consistently doing well with the song structure, she could possibly make a great album. But I'm not saying I didn't enjoy this album. I did. I just wish there was consistency and more solid songwriting here, because she's shown that she could do that. And the instrumentation, I do wish was a little more ambitious. It's not that there isn't versatility here, there is, but I feel if you're going more for the jazz prog, it's gotta be more explosive. It's gotta be more climactic, more epic, in my opinion. I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5 on this album, but if you've given this a listen, what did you think of this album? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Willow-Empathogen. Till we meet again.